Animated movies. Why are they important to the world of cinema? Some may say they're childish, some don't consider them real cinema, but animated movies are so important to the world of film. Let's dive into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Comics Clash. Today we're going to be analyzing the impact of animated movies and why they are so important to the world of cinema and also important to us as people. So let's just dive right into it. Firstly, animated movies are usually remnants of our childhood. Everyone grew up watching an animated movie. Everyone had a favorite animated franchise or animated movie growing up that just really made them love movies, or just something that they held dear to them. That one movie, that one franchise that you just grew up with, that you had to watch every single movie. You had to collect the McDonald's figurines. You just were in total love with that film. For me, that film was probably Ice Age or Madagascar. Those franchises I grew up with, and I always had to have all the toys. I went to the theater opening day for the Ice Age sequels, the Madagascar sequels, and I was just totally in love with those franchises as a kid, and they're just so important to who you are. I think animated movies do something that live action films can't: capture the imagination of just being a kid. And then even being older now, you can still appreciate how much liveliness there was to those films and just how much imagination and effort and creativity was put in through those films that you wouldn't really be able to see in live action. I mean, the animation is totally unleashed. It's really cool to just see with the vibrant visuals and the captivating characters and just the different uniqueness elements inside of these films really makes for animated movies to be something special. The next important aspect of why animated films are so impactful to us is the emotional connection. I think it's really interesting that animated films are able to build a deeper emotional connection than I think most live action films can. It might be the heartwarming characters or the stories that we go through growing up with these characters, but there's something about these animated films that are really able to invoke much more emotion. When we look at something like the Pixar films, they input these deeper themes that are definitely more emotional, and you can understand them as a kid as well. I remember the first time I cried in the theaters was when I was like 8 years old watching Inside Out for the first time, and damn, that movie really hit, especially with, kind of slowly growing up with Bing Bong fading away and knowing that those imaginary friends, those fun moments you had as a kid are going to end at one point. And I think that's something that's really impactful for how these animated movies deal with it, because as you watch these movies you're slowly growing up, or you've already grown up, and you understand the feeling of that everything's going to come to an end, and that really hits. I mean, there's a lot of other emotional themes that are inputted into these films, and you have these emotional bonds with some of these characters, and I think that's why animated movies have definitely more of an impact, because you're growing up with them, or you understand the feelings that they input inside these films, and I think that's just so amazing. Moving on to the third important aspect of why animated movies are so impactful, we're going to be talking about just the animation in general. I mean, the uniqueness and style with everything. When we look at films like Spider-Verse, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, there's just so many different ways you can do animation. And I think that's what's so cool about it. There's so much creativity inputted into these films, where you can't really see as much of that in live action as because there's limits. But with animation, there's no limits. You can do whatever you want with the animation, and I think that's what's so cool. When you look at a newer film like Across the Spider-Verse that just came out this year, you can see so many new aspects of animation where it's probably the best animated, like the way it's animated film of all time, because of just how different and unique each style, each frame is. There's so many different aspects, different elements hidden inside one frame. If you screenshot each scene, it looks amazing. I mean, there's creativity and imagination flowing throughout the entire film, and I think that's what makes it good. Because personally, I think on a story level, Across the Spider-Verse was not my favorite, but the animation carried it up to 10, and I mean, it's absolutely beautiful to look at. Every single shot, every single frame, it's amazing. And yeah, I just think that when you look at animated movies, there's no limits, there's no boundaries. I think that's really awesome. Moving on to the fourth aspect of why animated films are so impactful is the humor. Honestly, if you look at half of these animated films, the humor is probably better than any live action film you'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of live action bangers that are above these animated films with hilarious comedies, especially like Dumb and Dumber and The Hangover, and there's like a lot of good ones. But when you look at animated films, there's just a lot of variety of jokes, because you got jokes appealing towards kids, towards teens, towards adults, and there's just so much diversity with the jokes, and it all kind of lands. I think there's a lot of jokes that are way more memorable from animated movies that I can remember off the top of my head than I can from live action movies. And I think that's pretty cool. And just looking back to when I was a kid, bursting out laughing in the middle of the theater, along with so many other kids watching these movies with their parents, I think it's just fun to remember that and see that, animated movies still hit with the humor as well, and I think that's really cool. And I mean, also, animated movies have the best comedian actors inputted into the films. I mean, we got Will Smith, Chris Rock, Jack Black, so many great actors that are really good with comedy as well, so they're always in those animated movies, and that just makes the humor 10 times better. And moving on to the final aspect of what makes animated movies so impactful is the lessons. I know we already talked about this a little bit before, but these lessons that these animated movie gives us from when we were kids to where we are now is just, it's amazing. There are so many different small little lessons. Some of them may be cringy, but some of them are really important and impactful to who we are as people, and I think that's just so cool. I mean, looking at something like Kung Fu Panda trilogy, it's a trilogy that really explores self-discovery and who you are, what is your purpose, who are you meant to be, and I love that trilogy so much. I think that was one of the best lessons inside of trilogies, and they just do that in such a unique and interesting way as each movie expresses a different part of Po's journey in trying to learn who he is. And I think that's just the best example of why lessons are so important in animated movies and just make them all that more impactful. Anyway, those are the reasons why I think animated films are so impactful to the world of cinema and just to us as people. And I think that animated movies should keep on being cherished, keep on adding to the creativity and building these worlds, expanding the imagination inside of these animated films, because there's just so much more to explore. And yeah, that's why animated movies are so important. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.